Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
After Vera returned the guardianship to Drackle, she left the Necromancer's ancestral lands with Lux and Gop, and returned to the outer reaches. The half-elf wanted to visit his guild headquarters first before returning to Solais with his grandma to surprise his stepfather and Iris. When red-headed teenager asked his grandma if she wanted to join his guild, Vera agreed to it without a second thought. When they arrived, they saw Bentley and his merchant guild, currently hard at work to build Lux's town. Such a massive undertaking was impossible to complete in such a short period of time, but seeing that the framework of the town was starting to form, the half-elf was quite excited to see what it would look like once everything was finished. "Lux, we need to talk," Gop said. "It's about the Divine Army of Light." "Understood," Lux replied. "Can my grandma come and listen as well?" Gop nodded. "I don't mind. Actually, I'd prefer if she was there." The three then headed to the conference room of the guild's headquarters so that no one would disturb their conversation. "First and foremost, let me tell you what the Divine Army of Light is all about," Gop stated. "They are not only a religious organization, but they're also a massive military alliance that involves many great nations throughout Elysium. Their goal is to safeguard the safety and welfare of the common people, and thus target those who they deem that could potentially break the peace of the world." A sneer appeared on Gop's face before he continued his explanation. "At the beginning, they did what their alliance was supposed to do and safeguarded its members," Gop said. "However, as they grew powerful and their influence reached far and wide, they started to have thoughts that, perhaps, they could make every kingdom and empire who had a saint, or better yet, a supreme, become one of their members. And they had succeeded in doing so. Many saints have joined their ranks, bolstering their army of fanatics that actively hunt down heretics, like necromancers and others whom they judge to be a variable that stands in their way. Still, the Divine Army of Light only had one supreme, which is none other than its founder. Currently, that person is seriously injured, and is still recovering from his injuries. You see, if someone who stood at the apex of the world received a serious injury, it definitely isn't something that can be cured by ordinary elixirs and panacea. Depending on the severity of the injury, a supreme might spend years or decades slowly recovering from it. Simply put, ordinary medicines and potions no longer work on them. Because of this, the Divine Army dared not offend any organization that had a supreme backing them. One mistake and everything they built would crumble like a sand castle being hit by the waves. Gop paused in order to allow Lux to digest everything he had said so far. Vera, who was seated beside her grandson, already knew about these things, so she simply remained silent and allowed the halfling to continue his explanation. "When they were hunting my master a long time ago, they spread the news that she was an evil entity, and branded her a heretic." Gop's tone had started to have a semblance of anger in it, as he continued his tale. "You see, my master usually went to places where people were suffering or had suffered from plagues, natural calamities, war, famine, and other events that caused people hardship. Since she was striving to become a heaven's necromancer, she thought that doing good things would help increase her good karma, allowing the world to grant her wish. That High King of Lunaria, who had tried to kill you, was one of the people that my master helped. That bastard, who had tried to court my master, but had been rejected multiple times, was one of the first people who turned his back on her when the Divine Army of Light branded her a heretic. Everywhere we went, there would always be an agent of the Divine Army who alerted their organization about our whereabouts. We managed to escape each time they sent hunters to hunt us, but an unfortunate accident happened. However, I was so preoccupied with finding the best gift for her that I didn't notice that many hours had passed since I arrived in the city. Just as I found the perfect gift." Gop's face was filled with guilt as he told the half-elf why Hireswith died. "One day, when we were on the outskirts of a city, I decided to buy something for Master because it was her birthday. I only planned to shop for a short while, so that I wouldn't be discovered by the agents of the Divine Army. However, I was so preoccupied with finding the best gift for her that I didn't notice that many hours had passed since I arrived in the city. Just as I found the perfect gift for her, the hunters captured me and held me hostage as bait to get Master to appear." Gop lowered his head in shame. To this day, the guilt he felt about being the reason Hireswith died had not gone away, even after seeing her for a brief moment in the Necromancer's ancestral lands. The halfling still hadn't forgiven himself for the things that happened in the past. "Back then, I wished that I was the one who had died," Gop said softly. "Master had Antero, so even if all the saints attacked her at once, she would be able to deal with them easily. But because I was captured, they forbade her from summoning him in battle. My master fought with everything she had, even successfully retrieving me in the process. We managed to escape, but her injuries were severe, so our speed was slow. In fact, it only took the hunters half a day to find us and deal my master the finishing blow. I can still remember that day when I closed my eyes. My master's birthday was also the day of her death, and it was all my fault. Lux listened silently as Gop poured out his heart, his guilt, hurts, and sadness that he had been enduring for many years. Now I understand why Grandmaster Hireswith said that my master longed for revenge, Lux thought. Perhaps, master thought that by avenging her, the mistake he had made in the past would allow him to be forgiven by her when they met in the afterlife. The half-elf pondered for a bit before saying something to the halfling, causing the latter to raise his head. Actually, Grandmaster's soul is within the world tree in the ancestral lands, Lux said. She said that one of her closest friends, a seer, told her that her life was in great danger, and there was a high chance that she would die. Because of this, she made preparations beforehand and made it so that her soul would return to the ancestral lands after her death. Gop smiled bitterly after hearing Lux's explanation. I'm not sure if that is really her or just the will she left behind, but knowing my master, there is a possibility that she really did something like that. Even so, the fact that she couldn't materialize completely is proof that her soul is incapable of leaving the world tree. Although I feel better that she still exists in some form, that doesn't lessen the guilt I am feeling right now. Gop sighed deeply before looking at his disciple with a solemn expression on his face. The reason why I am telling you this is because of what happened in the past, Gop stated. I'm pretty sure that the Divine Army will brand you as a heretic and spread this news throughout the territories under their influence. Soon, it will reach this place, for Karshwar Draconis is the kingdom that floats at the center of the world. Although the Dragon King isn't a member of the Divine Army of Light, he might not do anything if their members come knocking on your doors here in the outer reaches. Lux narrowed his eyes. He fully understood what his master was trying to say. His guild had yet to make its mark on the world, and the people who wanted to destroy him were already making their move to find his whereabouts. Although the target of the Divine Army was only him, it was highly possible that they would target his family, friends, and even his guild, which was still incapable of fighting a behemoth that had dozens of saints under its command. Master, as someone who has been on the receiving end of their pursuit, how do you propose we deal with this issue? Lux asked. If he was the only one being hunted down, he believed that he had many ways to escape the Divine Army's grasp. However, he wasn't alone. His grandmother, Vera, his stepfather, Alexander, his two fiancées, Iris and Sai, his guild members, his friends, as well as those whom he treated as important people, all of them might be targeted by the Divine Army of Light, and that thought made the half-elf feel anxious. The only saving grace about this is that you are not an Elysian, but a foreigner, Gop stated. Although the Divine Army of Light also has foreigners within their ranks, they are only a handful. They can't do much in Solais, except spread the word that you are branded as a heretic by the Divine Army of Light. I don't know how the nations and other organizations of your world will react to this news, but I believe that you have enough backing to weather the storm in Solais. The halfling glanced at Vera, and the silver-haired lady nodded her head in reply. Lux had 3 saints backing him: Vera, Alexander, and Maximilian, who was the patriarch of the Rowan tribe. What Lux didn't know was that there were 2 other saints that were within the 6 kingdoms, who were also on good terms with his grandma and stepfather. If they asked for help, these 2 hermits would come out of their seclusion to lend their hands. The reason why Alexander and Maximilian could move unhindered within the 6 kingdoms was because there were no other saints that would challenge them. Because of this, the 6 kings had tried their best to form good relations with the 2 saints, creating a balance that existed for many years. If one of those kingdoms dared to make any move toward the red-headed teenager, 3 saints would move to wipe their entire royal bloodline from the face of Solais. The problem lies in Elysium, Gop stated before raising 2 of his fingers. But there are 2 ways to keep the Divine Army at bay. The first one is to move your guild headquarters elsewhere. By doing this, even if the saints from the Divine Army of Light arrive here in the outer reaches, they will not be able to shake your foundation. Lux could only shake his head helplessly because this was currently an impossible task. Master, the guild headquarters is already built here, Lux replied, and the town is under construction as we speak. The only way to move our stronghold is if this floating island grows wings and flies somewhere else. Gop chuckled after hearing Lux's words. This was indeed an issue, but the half-elf didn't know that the halfling had a way to solve this problem. Although it doesn't have wings to fly away, this floating island has the ability to move from place to place. Gop smirked. Do you remember that giant earth turtle that Antero ate? Lux nodded. He had seen how the giant of destruction had played with the giant earth turtle like a toy before devouring it completely. Antero has a special ability that can recreate anything that he has eaten as long as this was done recently, Gop explained. That giant earth turtle he devoured has become my subordinate, and I ordered it to merge with this entire floating island. Although the merging process isn't complete, it is possible to make this island move as long as I give it an order. Army of Light can only bully the weak and fear the strong. You need to form connections with the strong. Lux's eyes widened in shock, not expecting that his master could do such a thing. If what Gop said was really true, then not only did Lux gain a floating island, but he also gained a flying fortress, similar to an aircraft carrier, but 1,000 times better. I see. This is indeed a good way to escape the Divine Army's pursuit. Lux nodded. What is the second method, Master? Gop smiled. The second method requires you to work a bit harder. Since the Divine Army of Light can only bully the weak and fear the strong, you need to form connections with the strong. It didn't take long for the half-elf to realize what Gop was talking about before nodding his head in understanding. There was only one type of individual that the Divine Army of Light didn't dare to offend, and that was a Supreme. If Lux could make a Supreme his backer, the Divine Army of Light wouldn't do anything out in the open to capture or kill him. They would have to wait for Lux to leave the territory of his protector before making their move to capture or kill him. Master, do you think I can convince the Dragon King to become my backer? Lux asked. We won't know unless we try, Gop replied. Why don't we visit the capital for a while, and see if we can have an audience with him? Actually, Kiaza once told me that the Dragon King wanted to invite me to go fishing. Maybe I should accept his offer so that we can talk properly. But you'd better not do that. Did you perhaps make one of his daughters pregnant by any chance? When my master was alive, and we stayed here in Karshwar Draconis, the Dragon King often joked that he would invite those who tried to court his daughters to go fishing. Since it is a fishing trip, accidents can happen. What better way to get rid of his daughter's suitor than letting him become fish food? Beads of sweat appeared on Lux's forehead after hearing his master's explanation. He was confident that aside from Iris, he hadn't made any moves to make babies with anyone. Of course, he wasn't aware that a certain gullible and innocent dragon princess had been dreaming about him almost every night. And in her dreams, the handsome half-elf would always whisper in her ears that it was fine for her to get pregnant, for he would take responsibility and make her the happiest dragon girl in Karshwar Draconis. Oh, so that happened, huh? The Dragon King smirked as he looked down on Lux and Gop, who had come to see him to talk about the Divine Army of Light. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll gain anything from sticking my foot in your affairs, the Dragon King stated. What can you possibly offer me to gain my protection? Then, what can I do for you, Your Excellency? Lux asked. Nothing, the Dragon King replied. Someone like you doesn't have the qualifications to offer me anything. However, if Kiaza were to talk to me, that would be a different story. Why don't you let him talk to me instead? Perhaps the two of us can strike a compromise. The Dragon King narrowed his eyes as he looked at the half-elf that Kiaza had chosen. Although he admitted that Lux was quite exceptional, that didn't mean that he had any use for him whatsoever. At the end of the day, even if Lux was a saint, the Dragon King would still treat him the same way. For someone of his rank, very few things could interest him, and one of those very few things was none other than the Crystal Dragon, whose soul was currently inside the dragon token in Lux's possession. The half-elf then tried to talk to the Crystal Dragon, but the answer he received was something he didn't expect. Tell him to suck his own balls, Kiaza replied. He doesn't have any qualifications to talk to me. The corner of Lux's lips twitched because he knew that he couldn't possibly say those words to a being that could kill him with just a glare. Because of this, he decided to remain silent and glanced at his master, who had a faint smile on his face. Why are you looking at me? Gop asked in a mischievous tone. From the start, I didn't expect any favorable replies from this stupid lizard. Since he doesn't want to help, then let's stop wasting our time here and go. The royal guards, who were inside the throne room, and served as the Dragon King's protectors, all glared at the halfling. This was the first time that someone had called their king a stupid lizard, and all of them were itching to give Gop a piece of their mind. However, none of them moved because their king didn't give them any orders to do anything. There are only a handful of people who dare to talk to me in this manner, the Dragon King said in an amused tone. And you are definitely one of them. I know, right? Gop winked at the Dragon King, making the latter chuckle. His master, Hireswith, treated the Dragon King like a little child, despite the fact that he was older than her by several centuries. The only reason why the Dragon King wasn't offended by Gop's disrespectful words was due to Hireswith's influence. Also, although he was a supreme, and Terra was a creature that even he didn't dare to offend. Now that Gop had regained several years of his life back, the halfling could unlock Antero's full powers, without dying right away in the process. Lux sighed before following behind his master as he walked away from the throne room. When the half-elf was no longer around, the Dragon King ordered his guards to leave the room because he wanted to be alone. A few minutes later, the secret passage behind his back opened, and the angelic beauty, Valerie, appeared beside her father. "Father, why don't you help Sir Lux?" Valerie asked. "It seems that he is really in need of your help." "Valerie, there are times when people need to grow by facing great adversities," the Dragon King replied. "The more dangerous the situation, the more they are pressured to break through and find other ways to solve their problem. Although I may look like someone heartless, I was also thinking of the boy's growth. Adversity is one of the greatest teachers in life." "Is that true, father?" Valerie frowned. "Of course." The Dragon King patted his beloved daughter's head. Truth be told, he really didn't care if the Divine Army of Light captured Lux or not. He could tell that Valerie had become interested in the half-elf, and as a father, his instincts were telling him that the red-headed teenager was bad news. Since that was the case, he hoped that the Divine Army of Light would come sooner, so that they could take the troublesome half-elf away from his daughter, who for some reason, was starting to act more ladylike these past few days. Outside of the royal palace. "Master, if we were to move our guild headquarters, where is the best place to relocate?" Lux asked. "Now, that's a good question," Gop answered. "There are some places I have in mind, but one place stands out in particular." "Where, master?" "The lands ruled by the Crystal Palace." Lux's eyes widened in shock because he wasn't expecting this kind of answer from his master. Gop, who had seen her in the Gate of Famine, had assumed many things inside his head. However, since he couldn't confirm his suspicions, he didn't voice it out in the open. The only thing he knew was that after Kiaza had appeared, the members of the Crystal Palace, including their prince, had become nicer to Lux inside the dungeon, and even actively conversed with him. They even followed him like ducklings following their mother, which amused the halfling at that time. Because of this, the halfling thought that maybe they could hide within the lands of the Crystal Palace for the time being, still there, and wondered if the half-elf had still not exited the dungeon since the Gate of Famine had been cleared. After all, it was also one of the organizations in the world that had a supreme, and many saints under its command. Meanwhile, at the Gates of the Fallen, Picoro had been waiting for nearly a month outside of the Gate of the Fallen. For saints, a month was not a big deal. However, this was a special case. Picoro had never been the most patient among the saints, and he had been cursing the half-elf's name since the first day of his long wait. Now, he was reaching the limit of his patience. The Gate of Famine would open again in a week, and the half-elf was still nowhere in sight. The representatives of the Skystead Alliance, Zinner War Pact, as well as 6 kingdoms, had already sent people to the Gate of the Fallen to make their initial preparations. These same people were surprised to see that the saint from the Crystal Palace was still there, and wondered if the half-elf had still not exited the dungeon since the Gate of Famine had been cleared. None of them dared to strike up a conversation with Picoro because they had heard him curse the half-elf from time to time, and every time he did he would say ominous things like, "Don't let me get my hands on you, half-elf, because when I do, I will break your legs, so you won't have the chance to escape." In their hearts, they thought that Lux had courted death because he had offended a saint like Picoro. If only they knew that the half-elf didn't just offend the dragon-born saint, but also the High Council of the Divine Army of Light, all of them would definitely piss their pants because none of them would dare to do such a thing in their lifetime. "Sir Lux, wait for a moment." A familiar voice called out to Lux just as he and Gop were about to take the teleportation gate back to the outer reaches. "Valencia." Lux smiled after seeing the plain-looking girl, escorted by her 2 beautiful maids, Ollie and Ari. "It's nice to see you again. I didn't know that you lived here in the capital city, Rex Lapis." When Valerie met Lux for the first time, she used the name Valencia to hide her real identity. However, hearing her fake name come out from the half-elf's lips now, Valerie frowned because she'd rather hear the half-elf call her by her real name. "Sir Lux, I apologize for telling you a different name when we first met," Valerie replied. "My real name is Valerie. I'd appreciate it if you call me by this name from this point onwards." Alice and Aris's eyes widened in shock upon hearing their princess take the initiative to tell Lux her real name. "Valerie, it's a beautiful name." Lux nodded. "It suits you well." A flush appeared on Valerie's face after hearing the half-elf call her by her real name. Although Lux would say her name in her dreams affectionately, hearing it, in reality, felt much better, making her heart flutter. "Are you about to return to the outer reaches?" Valerie asked. "If you don't mind, can I visit your guild headquarters again?" "Of course," Lux replied. "You are always welcome to visit our guild headquarters, but I don't know if our base will remain in the outer reaches for long." "Hey." Valerie tilted her head in confusion, not understanding what Lux meant when he said that their base might not remain in the outer reaches for long. Seeing the plain-looking girl's bewildered expression, Lux only smiled bitterly before inviting her to join them on their return trip. Since his guild headquarters already had a teleportation gate installed, he asked Cephas to input the coordinates of the capital city in it, allowing them to travel to Rex Lapis any time they wanted. Just as Lux, Gop, Valerie, Ollie, and Ari were about to enter the teleportation gate, another familiar face called out to Lux from behind. "It's good to see you again, Lux," Cephas' grandmother, Faustina, said with a smile. "Are you headed back to your guild headquarters? What perfect timing. I also want to check on my no-good grandson, if he is doing well." Valerie, Ollie, and Ari, who recognized Faustina, all stood frozen because they had seen her many times in the past in the throne room, discussing important matters with the Dragon King. Valerie, who was wearing her usual disguise, was quite afraid of Faustina because of how strict the latter was with her. When her father was still looking for a teacher that would teach her the proper etiquette of the royal family, Faustina had been assigned to be her temporary teacher for a year. Those days were the scariest days of her life because the old Dragonborn would not hesitate to flick her forehead whenever she didn't do something right. "Don't worry, I won't blow your cover, Your Highness, Ollie, and Ari," she told them via telepathy. "I just happened to see the three of you with Lux, so I decided to say hello. Since you have no guards to attend to you, I will escort you this once. So act as if we don't know each other, and I won't tell your father you snuck out of the inner palace to play outside." Faustina's words were soft and gentle, making Valerie, Ollie, and Ari feel relieved. "Lady Faustina, Cephas isn't in the guild headquarters right now," Lux replied. "He is busy, undergoing his rancor breakthrough." "Oh, that no-good grandson of mine is actually about to become a rancor." Faustina arched an eyebrow. "It seems that he isn't as hopeless as I thought he would be. Still, it has been a while since I visited your guild headquarters. Can I also come for a visit?" The corner of Gop's lips rose because he recognized who Faustina was. Naturally, he also recognized who Valerie was. Although the beautiful dragon princess was wearing a disguise, Gop had the ability that could see through such simple tricks, allowing him to understand what was going on. He understood that Faustina was there in order to guard Valerie, so the halfling didn't say anything, and simply kept his silence. At the end of the day, the one Faustina was talking to was Lux, not him. "It will be my pleasure to have Lady Faustina visit our humble guild headquarters," Lux replied. "Well then, shall we all get going?" After Lux inputted the coordinates of his base in the teleportation gate, and paid the required gold for its usage, the six of them stepped foot into the teleportation gate one by one, traveling to the outer reaches in a blink of an eye. "Are you building something, Sir Lux?" Valerie asked when her gaze landed on the construction site that was located at the base of the mountain. "Yes," Lux answered. "I asked a merchant guild to help me build a town." "This is quite a grand undertaking," Faustina said with a smile. "Are you planning to build a small kingdom of your own, Lux?" "I'm not that ambitious, Lady Faustina." Lux scratched his head. "I just thought that having a town will allow my guild to grow. We can trade with other cities, and the guild members can temporarily serve as mercenaries when they are not doing anything important." "I see." Faustina nodded her head in understanding. "But did you ask the Dragon King's permission to build this town? You do know that every town and city in Karshwar Draconis falls under the jurisdiction of the Dragon King, right?" Before Lux could even reply, the dragon token materialized in front of Faustina, making the old lady flinch. "This island is under my jurisdiction," Kiaza said crisply. "Do you have a problem with that?" Faustina was speechless after hearing Kiaza's domineering reply. She knew for a fact that, technically, the Dragon King should have been the Crystal Dragon. However, on the day of his coronation, he vanished without a trace. Faced with the, supposed to be, Dragon King in front of her, the current Dragon King's second in command became speechless because she had never seen anyone talk to Faustina in that manner. Even her father didn't dare to act cocky in front of the dragon-born Valerie, who saw this, was awed by the talking dragon token because she had never seen anyone talk to Faustina in that manner. Even her father didn't dare to act cocky in front of the dragonborn, who had fought bloody wars for the sake of the dragon race. "I see. So that is the case," Faustina commented after regaining her composure. "Very well, I will inform the Dragon King about this matter." "You do that," Kiaza snorted. "And make sure to tell him to keep his hands out of Lux's business from now on." The more the dragon token talked, the more Valerie idolized it. If she could also say things in a straightforward and bold manner, perhaps she would be able to step outside the boundaries of the Dragon Kingdom. Valerie had often dreamed of traveling outside of Karshwar Draconis and touring the cities of the Lowlanders, whom she had only read about in the books within the library of the Inner Palace. "Girls, I'd like to introduce my friend, Valerie," Lux said. "These are her maidservants, Ollie and Ari. Valerie, this is Leah, Emily, and Alexa. I hope that all of you will get along well and become good friends. Lux had led Valerie and her maids inside the guild headquarters and introduced them to Garrett and his family, who acted as his stewards whenever he was away. Valerie frowned after seeing the three beautiful ladies, and she wondered if the three of them were Lux's lovers. Although the youngest of them, Leah, was only 6 years old, in Valerie's eyes, anyone who could breathe in Lux's headquarters had a chance to become the half-elf's future lover. Emily, who was 14 years old, might still be young, but her beauty was slowly maturing. For the time being, Valerie's gaze landed on the oldest daughter, Alexa, who was nearest to Lux in age. For some reason, she felt a prickling pain in her chest after knowing that the half-elf, who always talked to her affectionately in her dreams, was around other girls aside from her. It's a pleasure to meet the three of you, Leah, Emily, and Alexa. Valerie did a curtsy, which she had practiced many times in the past. I hope to get along with the three of you as well. I hope for that as well. Alexa also did a curtsy. Leah and Emily did the same. As daughters of a high-ranking noble of the Hakka dynasty, all of them had been trained to act in accordance with their rank. After exchanging greetings, Valerie finally asked the question that had been on her mind since she saw the three girls in front of her. Why do all of you have baby slimes on your head? Valerie asked. Is that what they call a trend? She was already used to seeing Aiko perched on top of Lux's head, but, seeing the three girls, whom she had one-sidedly recognized as her rivals, having them as well, she felt as if she was at a great disadvantage. Leah happily held her baby slime, Holly, and presented her to Valerie with a big smile on her face. Isn't she cute? Leah asked. Her name is Holly. She and I are best friends. Oh. The pink baby slime, Holly, jumped up and down on Leah's hand, as if affirming that what her master said was true. Valerie's heart melted after seeing such an adorable gesture, making her temporarily forget the feeling of rivalry she had with the 6-year-old girl in front of her. Can I hold her? Valerie asked. On. Leah nodded and handed Holly over to her. Holly swayed on Valerie's hand like jelly, making the plain-looking girl giggle. Do you want one as well? Lux, seeing that Valerie seemed to like Holly very much, asked. I'd love to. May I? Of course. Lux smiled at the dragon princess, making the latter's heart skip a dreams. A few minutes later, the half-elf took Valerie to the nursery he had beat because Lux's smile was the same one he gave her in her dreams. A few minutes later, the half-elf took Valerie to the nursery he had made for the eggs of the baby slimes that he took from Leaf Village. Wow, there's so many of them, Valerie said in excitement. They also have different colors. It's like looking at a rainbow. Amazing. Right, Leah said with pride as if she was the one that owned the nursery. She and Holly would often visit the nursery to clean it from time to time, so for them, this place was as good as theirs. Yes, Valerie nodded. There are so many of them that I feel overwhelmed. I know I said I wanted to have one, but with so many eggs to choose from, I don't even know where to start. Seeing her difficult expression, Lux decided to make a proposal. How about I choose one for you? Lux proposed. Are you fine with that? You're going to give me an egg? Valerie blinked once then twice before a red flush started to creep from her neck, up to her cheeks, until it reached the tip of her ears. You don't want me to? Lux smiled. Will you take responsibility for it? Valerie stuttered. I mean, please, give me an egg. I promise that I will raise it with love and care. The plain-looking girl looked so fired up and enthusiastic that Lux felt as if he was about to have a shotgun wedding with Valerie. However, he swatted those thoughts away because it was ridiculous. He was just giving her an egg. As for taking responsibility for it, I guess he would have to, since it was an egg that he gave her. Okay, I will take responsibility for the egg, Lux said, but promise me that you will raise it with love and care, okay? Why yes, Valerie replied in a heartbeat. I will raise it properly. Good. Lux nodded. Now, which egg should I give you? Lux rubbed his chin as he gazed at the hundreds of eggs that were currently inside the nursery. He wasn't aware that the plain-looking girl by his side was looking at him, with a dazed expression on her face, her heart beating wildly inside her chest. Oh no, what should I do? Valerie thought. Sir Lux is going to give me an egg. He also said that he is also going to take responsibility. Is this what my mother meant when she told me that making babies is sometimes done out of a moment of passion? Lux was unaware that Valerie had already gone to La La Land, and was already thinking of the name for their baby. If only he knew that his proposal had been misunderstood by the Dragon Princess, he would have definitely put greater care in his choice of words, since her report back could make the Dragon King drag him to a fishing trip by force. How about this one? Lux said after picking up a purple egg with wing symbols on its surface. For some reason, this egg stands out among the rest. It was as if it was calling out to me. Valerie looked at the egg in the half-elf's hand, and gently traced its surface with her finger. For some reason, the egg started to wobble from side to side, as if it felt ticklish after being touched. At that moment, Valerie felt as if something clicked inside her head, just like the final piece of a puzzle falling into place. She felt as if this was fated to happen. She then glanced up to look at the handsome half-elf, who was looking at her, with a kind smile. Suddenly, Valerie's body subconsciously moved as she cupped Lux's face with both of her hands. Since the half-elf was holding the egg in his hands, he was unable to do anything but stare as the plain-looking girl, whom he had only met for the second time in his life, stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. Alice and Ari's expressions immediately turned to shock after their mistress did something unexpected right in front of their eyes. Even Faustina, who was there with them, could only look with a dumbfounded expression on her face, as the princess of the Dragon Kingdom kissed the half-elf, who would soon be known as one of the heretics, who were being hunted down by the divine army of light. Lux's body stiffened when Valerie's soft lips pressed against his, catching everyone around them by surprise. Ollie and Ari, who had been with the Dragon Princess for a very long time, didn't expect that she would take the initiative to give her first kiss to the half-elf, whom she had only met for the second time in her life. The kiss lasted for 6 seconds before Valerie took a step back and looked at Lux in a daze. A few seconds later, her eyes widened in shock after realizing what she had just done, making her entire face turn beet red. Faustina, who was the most shocked of them all, immediately figured out how serious this was. She then subconsciously began counting the seconds that passed, and paid close attention to the fluctuations of power within the outer reaches. After half a minute passed, the right-hand woman of the Dragon King breathed a sigh of relief, as she patted her chest in order to calm her senses. Fortunately, he isn't watching Valerie right now, Faustina thought after realizing that the Dragon King might be doing something else. A tragedy has been averted. Faustina knew just how much the Dragon King spoiled her daughter, Valerie. If he witnessed the scene of his daughter kissing Lux, the skies above the outer reaches would definitely rumble. It wouldn't surprise her even if the Dragon King himself made an appearance in order to break Lux's neck out of anger. Perhaps, seeing her serve as Valerie's escort, the Dragon King thought that nothing could go wrong, so he just focused on his duties, and didn't monitor his daughter's movements. After making sure that there were no drastic changes in her surroundings, Faustina immediately talked to Ollie and Ari through telepathy. I command the two of you to never say a word of what happened today to anyone, Faustina ordered. If even a word of this incident reaches the Dragon King's ears, I will personally punish the two of you. Do I make myself clear? Why yes, Your Excellency, Ollie replied. We swear that we will carry this incident to our graves, Ari stated. So, please, do not tell the Dragon King about this as well, Your Excellency. Even if Faustina didn't warn them, Ollie and Ari wouldn't dare to tell anyone that their beautiful and gullible princess had kissed a boy. If the Dragon King found out what happened today, they wouldn't have the capacity to worry about Faustina's punishment. Their fear to face the Dragon King's wrath was enough to make the two maids swear that they would carry this secret to their graves. They didn't want to be punished or to be separated from Valerie, whom they already treated as their younger sister. Good. Faustina nodded. We will keep this secret between the three of us. Unlike Faustina and the two maids, there were two beings in the nursery who were laughing in their hearts. One of them was Lux's master, Gop. The other was none other than Kiaza, who was very delighted to see something unexpected. The crystal dragon wanted to gloat and tell the Dragon King so badly that his daughter had fallen in love with the candidate that he had chosen. However, knowing what would happen if he did that, the crystal dragon decided to keep this a secret, at least for the time being. Gop, who also knew about Valerie's real identity, gave his disciple a thumbs up in his heart. Similar to Kiaza, he was also tempted to brag to the Dragon King that his disciple had managed to charm his daughter, making Valerie take the initiative to kiss Lux. But since he knew what would happen next, he decided to just remain silent. Let's hatch the egg, Leah said. I wonder, what kind of slime will appear this time? Lux and Valerie finally regained a bit of their composure, and glanced at each other. If only that lizard wouldn't kill my disciple, I would have already spread this news to the entire world, Gop thought. An awkward silence descended into the nursery as both Lux and Valerie lowered their heads, not daring to look at each other's faces. Fortunately, Leah, who was still too young to understand anything, broke the silence at her usual pace. Let's hatch the egg, Leah said. I wonder, what kind of slime will appear this time? Lux and Valerie finally regained a bit of their composure, and glanced at each other. Although the two of them were still a little embarrassed about what happened earlier, they still went to the incubator to hatch the egg that Lux had chosen. The half-elf placed the egg on the incubator and turned it on. The purple egg was then bathed in a radiant light, making cracks appear on its surface. Half a minute later, its lower half broke apart, leaving only the top shell behind. A few seconds later, the top shell slowly rose a little before going down again. Although it was brief, Lux and Valerie saw a purple baby slime take a peek at them, before hiding back inside the safety of its shell, as if it was too shy to come out. Eiko, who thought that her new friend was playing hide-and-seek, jumped off Lux's head and landed beside the egg. She then unceremoniously lifted the shell, revealing a baby slime with two small horns on its head, and dragon-like wings on its back. A dragon slime. Gop rubbed his chin after seeing the extremely rare slime that fetched astronomical prices in auction houses due to how rare it was. Now that is something you don't see every day. Valerie, who was weak to cute and adorable things, squealed before gently grabbing the baby dragon slime with both hands, in order to take a better look at it. As if wanting to test how soft it was, Valerie's hands started to lightly squeeze the baby slime in her hands, making it feel ticklish. The baby dragon slime giggled and squirmed in Valerie's hands, making the dragon princess almost melt due to how cute her baby slime was. It looks like this one is a boy, Lux said after checking the baby slime's status page with his soul book. How about you give him a name? Valerie, a name. Valerie stared intently at her baby slime, who was still giggling in her hands. Since this is the baby that Sir Lux gave me, I think I'll name him K. Lux scratched his head because the way Valerie worded her reply could be easily misunderstood by those who weren't familiar with her. Fortunately, no one in the room paid too much attention, and simply looked at the happy girl, who was holding the purple baby slime in her hands. The baby dragon slime then stopped giggling as it looked at Valerie with a serious expression on its face. A moment later, it nodded its head and smiled. K. The baby dragon slime nodded its head in approval. It seems that K likes the name you gave him. Lux smiled. Please take good care of him, Valerie. I will. Valerie smiled happily before giving K a kiss on the cheeks, making the baby slime nuzzle the dragon princess in return. This act of intimacy made Ollie and Ari feel as if they were about to melt on the spot. Valerie's smile was simply too radiant. Even Faustina, who didn't put slimes in high regard, couldn't help but smile after seeing this heartwarming scene. This was her first time seeing the princess, Valerie, this happy, and she wished that the smile she saw on that day would remain, even after Lux left Karshwar Draconis. Valerie's laughter melodiously echoed in the air like the chime of bells, as she ran through the hallways of Lux's guild headquarters, while being chased by her baby dragon slime, K. Ollie and Ari watched the scene from the side, feeling extremely happy for their princess. For some reason, both of them also had the urge to raise a baby slime of their own, just to have something in common with the innocent girl that they were in charge of. Do you want to raise baby slimes as well? Lux asked the two maids, who were looking at Valerie with fond eyes. What do you think, Ari? Ollie asked her sister. Should we raise baby slimes as well? Why not? Ari replied. Let's get one later when Valerie has had her fill of playing tag with K. Faustina, who was also watching the dragon princess, gave Ari a stern gaze, making the handmaid's body stiffen. Lux, who seemed to be unaware of what was going on between the girls, only nodded his head in understanding. Leah is also in charge of handling the nursery, Lux said. You can ask her for help when you want to choose some eggs in the nursery. I still have important matters to attend to, so I'll leave you girls for now. Without waiting for Alice and Aris' reply, Lux went to see Garrett and Emma, who were currently in charge of his guild headquarters. They needed to discuss Gop's proposal of leaving the outer reaches before the Divine Army of Light started knocking on their guild's doorstep. Due to the massive significance of this matter, Lux made sure to conduct their conversation in the guild chat in order to inform his members about the new enemy they were about to face. The Divine Army of Light. Thoram frowned after seeing Lux's message in the guild chat. Boy, just who did you offend to make them your enemy? Sir Thoram, I didn't go out of my way to offend anyone, Lux replied helplessly. They got offended when I attempted to break through and become a ranker. You see, this is what happened. Lux informed everyone that he had become a Heaven's Necromancer, making him a progenitor of a new branch of necromancy. What? You mean that world announcement was about you? The village head of Leaf Village, Seedwin, exclaimed in shock. By the gods. No wonder the Divine Army of Light wants you dead. They won't allow anyone to think that the heavens themselves approved of necromancy. I already had a feeling that it was you all along, the guildmaster of the Adventurers Guild, Keelan, commented. Since there was already a precedent when you made your guild, I reckon that the world announcement was connected to you in some way. But this is indeed troublesome. You made such a large organization your enemy. The Divine Army of Light doesn't have any influence in the kingdom of Gwillivan, but we are aware of how formidable they are. Thoram, who was the commander of the stronghold of Noria, replied, "For the time being, you should not go anywhere near the territories under their control. Lay low for a while until this incident boils over. The Adventurers Guild is a neutral organization, but we have dealings with the Divine Army of Light, in some kingdoms and empires outside of the kingdom of Gwillivan," Keelan stated. "It is possible that they will also put a bounty on your head and hire adventurers, mercenaries, assassins, and bounty hunters to hunt you down. The Hakka dynasty is actually one of the kingdoms that are under the influence of the Divine Army of Light," Garrett stated. "They even had a church built in the capital city a few years ago, and their high priest is on good terms with our king. Since your name is now well known among our citizens, it is possible for people to report your information to the church, which would make the Divine Army of Light send their members to the Wanted Kingdom to inquire about your whereabouts." Lux frowned after seeing Garrett's reply. If the saints of the Divine Army of Light visited the Wanted Kingdom, the first place they would visit was the Blackrock clan, who had very close ties with him. "Worry not, the Blackrock clan will not forsake you, Lux," Barca said in a firm manner. "Even if the Divine Army of Light were to interrogate us, none of us would betray the person that helped us win the war. At the very least, we will just say that you just happened to pass by, and that's it. If they try to use force against us, we will make sure to make the entire world know about their wrongdoing," Lady Aviana, who was the orc chieftain of the Blackrock clan, commented. "We will make sure that their reputation will be ruined. Don't do anything reckless." "Okay," Lux stated. "Just say that I was just a passerby to avoid any tension between you and the Divine Army of Light." "Understood," Lady Aviana replied. "I'm sorry if we can't help you with this problem, Lux." Before Lux could say that there was nothing that the orc chieftain had to be sorry about, a message popped up in the guild chat, which came from someone whom Lux didn't expect to reply at this point in time. "You said earlier that you planned to move the guild headquarters. Where do you plan to relocate it?" Sethis, who had taken his rancor test to become a rancor, spoke up, making Lux wonder if he had successfully accomplished his breakthrough. "Sethis, are you a rancor now?" Lux asked. "Indeed," Sethis replied. "For someone like me, becoming a rancor is just as simple as gliding in the sky. It was over before I knew it. Now, let's go back to the topic. Where do you plan to relocate our guild headquarters?" "Actually, I was hoping that we could relocate to the territory of the Crystal Palace," Lux replied. "To my Grandma Augustina's place." Sethis inquired. "I think that is a good idea. With her around, not even the Divine Army of Light would dare to act high-handed. That grandma of mine has a short temper. There was a time when she slapped one of the champions of light, because he mocked me for being weak." Sethis then went to brag about his other grandma, who was currently the steward of the Crystal Palace. After having his fill of bragging, Sethis asked Lux if he should send a message to his grandma, informing them about their circumstance. "Please do so," Lux replied. "We need to get her answer as soon as possible." "Okay," Sethis nodded. "But isn't the domain of the Fallen going to open soon? The members of the Crystal Palace will certainly be there as well. Aren't we going to join in the fun?" Actually, I don't plan on going to the domain of the Fallen at this time," Lux replied. "There is another place that I have to visit." "Is that so?" "Understood. I will talk to Grandma for the time being. Fortunately, the place where I broke through is near the Crystal Palace. I will tell you the result of my discussion with Grandma when morning comes." "Thank you, Sethis. Please do your best to get her approval." "Don't worry, I got this," Sethis said with confidence. After being part of Lux's mythical guild, Sethis changed a lot. Although he was still arrogant and thought highly of himself, he also wanted to contribute to his guild in order to make it grow. Seeing that his guildmaster was in a pinch, Sethis decided to go all out to convince his Grandma Augustina to give Lux asylum. As long as she agreed, the half-elf would have a Supreme as a backer. This would make the Divine Army of Light think twice before doing anything that might anger one of the beings that none of them dared to provoke. Lux currently had a solemn expression on his face as he looked at the Demigod ranked magic scroll in his hand. Before Vera returned the guardianship of the Necromancer's ancestral land to Drackle, she made sure to visit its treasury first, and took two precious items from it. These were the compensation she took from Drackle for killing her grandson, and the Vampire King could only smile bitterly, knowing that there was nothing he could do about it. He was already joyous that Vera didn't abuse her authority and only took two items from the treasury of the Necromancer's vault. If Vera wanted to, she could have taken more, and no one would even stop her. But she knew that saints were tied up with the world's karma, even if no one could stop her from robbing the ancestral lands. The consequences of doing such a thing were something that she didn't want to carry on her shoulders. So she settled for two treasures. and one of them was the demigod ranked magic scroll in Lux's hands. This scroll had the ability to raise the rank of any artifact, weapon, equipment, or any other miscellaneous items to the demigod rank. The second one was also a priceless treasure, the beast core of a calamity-ranked world boss. If these items were to be auctioned, they would definitely fetch unimaginable prices. When Eiko saw the 5-meter-tall beast core, she was almost tempted to swallow it whole and eat it. Fortunately, her love for her papa was bigger than her greed, so she managed to fight off the temptation. Instead of swallowing the beast core whole, she only licked it like it was a giant piece of candy. But to the papa and baby pair, the most surprising thing was that Eiko actually learned a skill after licking the calamity-ranked beast core, making Lux doubt whether the information that appeared in front of him was real. However, that wasn't the issue that the half-elf was dealing with at the moment. He was currently debating which of the items he had would be good to upgrade to the demigod rank. Upgrading the Favonius Legacy to the demigod rank is good, but according to Master Randolph, he would be able to do that once he's made a breakthrough in his blacksmithing. Lux thought. The Favonius Legacy armor set that belonged to the founder of Leaf Village was a demigod ranked armor, to begin with. This was something that Lux had known ever since he got it, and back then, he wished that it could be restored to its original rank. As for weapons, Lux didn't need any of them upgraded to the demigod rank because he had something better, and that was his newest subordinate, Calypso. The golden living armor could transform into the Spear of Longinus, allowing Lux to wield a divine weapon in his hands. Since divine weapons were a rank higher than a demigod, he didn't need to use the magic scroll on it. While Lux was checking the other items in his inventory, a telepathic message from Sid arrived. Master, I have successfully eliminated the 6th honorary elder of Twilight Reign, Sid reported. However, I had a very hard time with the assassination because Twilight Reign has increased their security to guard their important agents. Every time I manage to kill someone, the Dark Guild dispatches more rankers to protect the others. I'm afraid that it might take me weeks to assassinate my next target due to how tight their security measures are. You have done well, Sid, Lux replied. For the time being, you can return to the Savage Lands and accompany Cadmus with the exploration. You have spent a lot of time completing your mission, and I don't want to delay your growth any further. I'm sure that Twilight Reign will no longer bother Aina and Colette for the time being because of you. They likely won't cause any waves for a month or two, while things settle down. Sid voiced his agreement and obeyed Lux's orders. Now that his assassination mission had ended, he would return to Leaf Village and spend a few days with his little sisters. After that, he would go to the Savage Lands in order to raise his rank. Sid was now a ranker, but he knew that it was only the starting point of his goal to become Lux's hidden blade, the one who would deal with those who antagonized his master from the shadows. He felt fortunate that Lux had revived him because he still had a lot of unfinished business in his life. I think you should take a look at. Sid also wanted to see the smiles on his sisters' faces, and for that to happen, he had to make a peaceful world, so that Laura and Livia could live their life in happiness. After ending his talk with Sid, Lux smiled and felt extremely fortunate for his decision to revive the assassin that had tried to kill him in the past. Sid had always been there whenever he needed him, and knowing that such a dependable ally was always around, gave Lux more leeway to focus on other things. If only I had more people like Sid, Lux mused. Suddenly, his eyes widened in shock after realizing that he had overlooked something very important. Why didn't I think of this sooner? Lux muttered before scratching his head. Out of all the items in his possession, there was one artifact that had unlimited potential. Come out, Black Fire, Lux ordered. Immediately, a black coffin hovered in front of him, which made the half-elf smile evilly. At the moment, Blackfire's ability was very limited. As a mythical ranked artifact, it could only store 4 creatures inside of it, 3 of which had already been taken. Sid, Scarlet, and Vera having used 3 of the 4 slots, Lux could only use it one more time. Unfortunately, he had used up the last slot a few hours ago, when Vera handed him the corpse of the saint, Renford, who went by the nickname Fire Tiger. Lux thought that if he allowed Blackfire to nourish the corpse of the saint, he would gain another strong subordinate, once the corpse had undergone its second rebirth. Just like Vera, Lux didn't know how long it would take for Renford's corpse to be reanimated. Of course, if he wanted to, he could use his skill Animate Undead to revive him right now, but doing so would be a waste. Since Lux was currently a D ranker, using Animate Undead on a human that was stronger than him would only give him another D ranker. The difference between a saint and a low ranker was like heaven and earth. Lux would rather wait and have a peak-ranked fighter than rush things and get something that was only as strong as him. Time for you to get an upgrade, old friend, Lux said softly as he caressed the surface of the black coffin, which was emanating a purple light. Perhaps, knowing that it would become stronger than ever, the black fire playfully nudged Lux's body, hurrying him up to give it an upgrade. The red-headed teenager chuckled before pressing the magic scroll against the impatient black coffin. As soon as he did that, the magic scroll glowed brightly before merging with the black fire. It didn't take long before a series of notifications appeared in front of Lux, making the half-elf smile from ear to ear. He had expected that Blackfire would receive a massive upgrade, but he never thought that the results would exceed his expectations. Congratulations! Blackfire has been upgraded to the Divine rank. Blackfire, New Oath of Eternal Glory Rarity, Divine. Maximum Capacity, 100,000. This black coffin can store any dead, or living, humanoid-type creature. It can also store souls, including damaged souls. Even if the soul is nearly destroyed, and only a fragment of it remains, it can still be stored inside Blackfire, allowing them to undergo a second rebirth. ManhwaRecap can choose to transform anything inside Blackfire into higher undead, fairies, nymphs, elementals, or celestials. However, the higher the rating of the creature, the higher the price is needed to make the transformation a success. If ManhwaRecap doesn't wish to spend any resources on the rebirth of the creatures stored inside Blackfire, they will still undergo a transformation, but the results will be completely random. Rates of transformation for each creature are as follows. Higher undead, 60%. Fairies, demons, 20%. Nymphs, 10%. Elementals, 5%. Celestial, 1%. You can offer beast cores as a sacrifice in order to increase the rarity of the creature you want to transform. The rarer the beast core, the higher the chances for your desired creature to transform into an apex being. If your creature transformed into a vampire, and you have sacrificed a beast core with high rarity, there is a chance that the vampire will transform into a vampire lord. All creatures that have undergone their transformation inside Blackfire will always be loyal to ManhwaRecap. Each creature that ManhwaRecap transforms has a 35% chance to obtain the ability to evolve. This will allow them to become stronger and surpass their current forms once certain requirements are met. If any of the creatures you own die in battle, you can revive them by offering Blackfire a number of beast cores depending on their rank. The stronger the creature, the higher that offering will be. This item is soulbound to ManhwaRecap. Lux did a fist pump after seeing the amazing upgrade that Blackfire undertook. From a storage capacity of only 4, Blackfire could now store up to 100,000 creatures, allowing Lux to have an army of elites that would be forever loyal to him. Out of extreme happiness, Lux wasn't able to stop himself from laughing out loud. This made Aiko, who was perched on top of his head, also laugh out loud, imitating her papa. Fortunately, the two of them were in a private room inside their guild headquarters, so no one was able to see this comical scene, which would have put a smile on the faces of anyone who saw them. After laughing for a few minutes, Lux unsummoned the black coffin and left the room to see how his guests were doing. A few minutes later, Lux found Valerie in the dining hall. I think you should take a look at. The plain-looking, young lady was feeding her baby dragon slime, some pudding, which the latter seemed to love. Even from afar, Lux could tell that Valerie was very happy, which made him happy as well. Because of this, he wasn't able to stop thinking about the kiss he shared with her earlier, making him wonder if Aiko was going to tell Iris what happened. He knew that, whenever they visited Barbatos Academy after returning from Elysium, Iris would talk to Aiko and ask her everything that had happened. While they were away, the baby slime had a very good memory. In fact, Lux believed that Aiko had an eidetic memory, which allowed her to recall things perfectly. Just to be on the safe side, Lux decided to try his luck, and bribe the baby slime into keeping what happened with Valerie earlier a secret. Aiko, can we keep Valerie's kiss a secret from your mama? No. Don't you love me? Love. Then we keep it a secret from your mama? No. Which one of us do you love more, mama or papa? Love both. Then we keep what happened with Valerie a secret? No. Lux didn't know if he should laugh or cry at Aiko's toughness, contrary to her squishy jelly-like exterior. In the end, he decided to give up and just think of an excuse that he would tell Iris the next time they went to Barbados Academy. As if sensing a gaze on her, Valerie looked to her right side, and saw Lux leaning on the wall not far from her, with his arms crossed over his chest. She then playfully waved to the half-elf, who also waved back at her, with a gentle smile on his face. This time, the dragon princess remembered the kiss she shared with Lux earlier, making her face turn beet red. This is not good, Valerie thought as she covered her face with both hands due to embarrassment. I better talk to mother later, and ask her for advice on how to become closer to Sir Lux. Now that we have a baby, and he assured me that he would take responsibility, the next step would definitely be marriage. But but I'm still not emotionally ready for it. Valerie didn't know what to do with the feeling that was overflowing from her chest. For the time being, she decided to have a proper talk with her mother, whom she loved and trusted the most. Not knowing that thoughts of marriage were swimming in Valerie's head, Lux decided to leave the dining hall for the time being. Since his guests were being properly cared for by the maids from Garrett's family, he decided to look for his grandma Vera. I should keep my plan a secret from Master Gop for now, Lux mused as he went to look for his grandmother. The reason why he was looking for Vera was simple. He needed her to take him back to the Necromancer's ancestral lands. Now that Blackfire could store souls, he now had a way to help his grandmaster, Hireswith, whose soul was currently staying inside the Black World Tree in the Necromancer's holy land. He knew that his master, Gop, still felt guilty about what happened in the past, and in order to help him overcome this guilt, Lux decided to pay the beautiful High Elf another visit and give her a second chance at life. Lux found Vera gazing down on the town that was being built at the base of the mountain. However, it wasn't only her. Gop stood beside her, and it seemed that the two were having a serious discussion about how to counter the divine army of light, if they happened to reach them before Lux's guild had successfully relocated. Didn't take long for the two to notice Lux's presence, and they both glanced in his direction, making the half-elf smile. "The two of you have serious looks on your faces," Lux said as he walked towards the two people who would always be on his side no matter what. "Smile. The world is not ending just yet." Vera shook her head helplessly before lightly patting Aekos and Lux's heads. "What's wrong?" Vera asked. "Have you used the two treasures I have given you?" "Only one of them," Lux replied. "Grandma, I need to talk to you in private for a while. Can you spare me your time?" Gop smirked and gave the half-elf a mischievous look on his face. "You're keeping secrets from me now. Don't tell me this is related to Valerie. It seems that the young lady favors you very well. How about it? Do you want to make your grandma play matchmaker for you?" Vera arched an eyebrow as she looked at her handsome grandson. She didn't mind playing matchmaker for Lux. In her opinion, the more great-grandchildren she had, the better. "Master, you shouldn't tease me like this," Lux commented. "I already have 2 fiancés. It's only 2. Kings have dozens. But I'm not a king. We can make that happen," Gop replied with an evil smile, making Lux believe that his master wasn't joking. Vera also nodded her head as if this was a very simple thing to do, making the half-elf apologize in advance to whatever kingdom these two people were planning to give him. "No, seriously. I'm not in a hurry to have more wives," Lux insisted. "Grandma, please. This is very important." Vera no longer teased Lux, and followed him inside the guild headquarters. She was very curious about why her grandson wanted to talk to her in private. "Grandma, I know that we just came back here in the outer reaches, but I want you to take me back to the Necromancer's ancestral lands," Lux said with a serious expression on his face. "Okay," Vera replied. "Shall we go?" "You're not going to ask me why, Grandma. Although I am curious, I'm sure you have your reasons. Also, since you didn't say this in front of your master, Gop, I believe that you want to keep this a secret from him." Lux's eyes widened in shock as he looked at his grandma, who seemed to have read his heart. "Silly boy," Vera smiled. "I was the one that gave you those 2 priceless treasures. Since one of them has the ability to upgrade an item to the divine rank, I have a feeling that you will choose to upgrade Blackfire." "Did you choose to upgrade Blackfire?" "Yes, Grandma," Lux replied. "I'm surprised that you managed to guess it correctly." So, are you planning to use this Blackfire to help your grandmaster, Hireswith?" "You're amazing, Grandma." Vera chuckled. It wasn't really that hard to guess Lux's plan. As long as the half-elf chose to upgrade Blackfire, Vera knew that the next thing he would do was to help Hireswith. Since that was the case, Lux needed someone to take him to the Necromancer's ancestral lands. Gop could have done this easily, but the half-elf still chose his grandma instead of his master. This meant that the red-headed teenager wanted to keep things as a surprise, which Vera once again guessed correctly. "Let's go," Vera said before resting her right hand on Lux's shoulder. Without even waiting for the half-elf's reply, Vera used her authority as a pseudo-guardian to teleport the two of them to the holy land of the Necromancers. "I think you should take a look at." The moment they arrived, the Vampire King, Draco, instantly appeared in front of them with a stiff smile on his face. "Welcome back, Lady Vera," Draco said in greeting. "Did you perhaps forget something?" As the guardian of the Necromancer's ancestral lands, Draco was able to sense anyone who entered it. The moment Lux and Vera arrived, he had already recognized their aura, which made him feel anxious. Draco originally thought that Vera had changed her mind, and wanted to take back the guardianship from him. Fortunately, the silver-haired lady's reply made the Vampire King breathe a sigh of relief inside his heart. "My grandson plans to re-enter the World Tree for a short while," Vera replied. It seems that he needs more time to consolidate his powers after breaking through. Ah, that is indeed a good decision, Draco commented. If the two of you need anything, don't hesitate to ask me. I may not always be with you, but as long as you call out to me, I will come flying. Without another word, the Vampire King turned into a black mist and flew toward the sky. He was worried that Vera might change her mind, so he decided to flee before the silver-haired beauty asked him to return the guardianship to her. He is quite an interesting person, Vera said. Indeed, Lux agreed. Well then, Grandma, I'll be off for a while. Vera nodded. Take your time, since there was only one place to go. Lux no longer tarried and opened the black dragon wings on his back. He then flew towards the center of the ancestral lands, where the world tree was located. A few minutes later, the half-elf entered the world tree and started searching for his grandmaster. However, whenever someone enters the world tree, they are brought to a different dimension that is separate from the others. Even if all the necromancers in the world were to gather and enter the world tree at the same time, they wouldn't appear in the same place, unless they wanted it to happen. When Lux entered the world tree for the second time, what he saw were countless doors hovering around him. Finding Hireswith's door was like finding a needle in a haystack. However, Lux had already formed a connection with Hireswith from the time she imparted him spells, and gave him lessons before he became a ranker. Using this connection, the half-elf's gaze locked on a green door in the distance that was emitting a faint green light. Lux didn't hesitate and headed in that direction. Grandmaster, I have returned, Lux said as soon as he opened the door. I've come here to hell. Lux wasn't able to finish the rest of his words due to what he saw upon entering the doorway. The beautiful high elf was inside holding a bag of potato chips in her hand while watching something on the screen of her laptop. That was fine and all, but Lux paused when he saw what his grandmaster was looking at, a half-naked 2D man who would make certain fangirls scream, "Unk, that's husbando material." Hireswith, who now sensed that she was no longer alone, turned around to look behind her. Seeing her grand disciple, the first thing she did was to push down the monitor of her laptop and give the half-elf the sweetest smile that screamed of murder. "You little cunt," Hireswith said in a voice that would make any man's legs turn to jelly. "Why couldn't you wait for 10 more minutes? I was just at the interesting part." Seeing that his grandmaster's smile didn't reach her eyes, Lux slowly backed away and closed the door without saying another word.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.